Top of the 6th inning in Clearwater. That's a good place to take in the ball game from, down the left field line. Grab your favorite drink and you get to sit in the shade. I think those are two good things on a hot, sunny Florida afternoon here on Friday of the American Athletic Conference Tournament.
Don't forget the flat screens. Flat screens in the Tiki Hut.
I'm sure that's why they're out there. It must be the flat screen TVs. It's the bottom third of the USF order here against Dylan Toscano in the 6th inning. It's now a 1-ball, 1-strike count. Zach Gilcrease, a couple of groundouts this inning. Once to first, once to second. 2-1. Here's a swing and miss. I said 2-1 because I looked up and the scoreboard is incorrect. It's now 1 ball and 2 strikes. Toscano, over the last 2 innings, has looked a little bit better since the first 3 seemed to be a bit of a struggle, but still not quite on the top of his game today. 3 strikeouts, only 1 free pass. Gets a pop-up down the left side, chased by Schreitenthal, but he is out of real estate. It's about 8 rows deep.
I agree with you. He's set down 4 of his last 5, but in all 5 innings, he's allowed at least 1 hit or better. The 3rd and the 4th was where it kind of got scary for him. He allowed 1 run in the 3rd, couple of singles there.
They got 8 runners left for the South Florida Bulls, and until last inning, they had at least 1 in scoring position every frame. Slow roller to the right side, and Montgomery picks it up, throws him out. 1 gone, top of the 6th. You tuned in a little late. I'm Brendan Gulick, Garrett Wolvert alongside. Our American Digital Network crew has brought you almost the entire tournament. The CBS Sports Network had Tuesday's games. We'll televise all games today and tomorrow before ESPNU will pick up the championship coverage on Sunday. Toscano working here to Andres Leal. And he takes outside, ball 1. 1 for 2 this afternoon with an infield single. The first of 2 games here in Clearwater today. There's a strike to even the count, 1 ball, 1 strike. They're both elimination games. The second game today will be the Tulane Green Wave, who lost last night to East Carolina, against the UConn Huskies, who won yesterday morning against UCF. 2 balls, 1 strike.
Leal had found it tough going up there at the plate, went 0 for 8 over the first 3 games of the tournament until that single back in the 4th. Maybe he can rock another one here.
Hard chopper at Montgomery. And you can give him 3 straight putouts from second base. 2 gone on the top of the 6th. The only run that scored came back in the 3rd inning. Levi Borders hit a sacrifice fly to right field and scored Kevin Merrill. That was an inning where Toscano led a couple of singles to lead off the inning, 1 to left, and then on a hit and run, Luke Maglich was able to put runners on the corners. Sacrifice fly brought the only run home. Austin Luke at the plate. He's been aboard twice, hit by a pitch and singled. He spins out of the way of ball 1. Casey Mulholland and Dylan Toscano faced off against each other earlier this year, and both pitchers went the distance. That was a game Memphis won 4-1. Just missed the inside corner. 2 balls, no strikes.
Luke, one of 3 USF Bulls today who's been on base twice. He joins Maglich and Merrill, who both have a hit or better in the ball game.
Two-0. There's a strike, 2 balls and a strike. Toscano going back to the fastball when he needs it. Kind of a quiet day here at Bright House Field. Everybody's taking an afternoon snooze in the sun. There's a slow roller that Toscano picks, flips to his hand, and confidently throws to first base.
Little panache right there.
A little bit. I'll tell you what, the Tigers haven't played perfect baseball today, but they're hanging around, and USF is letting some opportunities slip by in an effort to try to create some separation. 1-0. The Bulls on top, middle of 6. Approaching 1 o'clock here in Clearwater, Florida. It's the bottom of the 6th inning, 1-0 USF on top. I think that thermometer just a little bit too high. We're only at about 90 degrees here in Clearwater. Strike on the outside corner to Tucker Tubbs to lead things off. Just to give you an idea, before the game started, when it was still only 10 o'clock in the morning, that thermometer at one point said 103. I can guarantee you it was not that hot, but it's warm here this afternoon. Tucker Tubbs steps out of the box. This is the best part of the Tigers' order. They've got two of their all-conference players with one of them at the plate. And he hits a high fly ball carrying to left. Will this tie the game? You betcha. A solo shot from Tucker Tubbs here in the 6th. His 17th home run of the season. We are tied at 1 in Clearwater.
Mulholland had given up a team-leading 8 home runs on the year. Make it 9. That's the 17th bomb, and it was gone off the bat of Tucker Tubbs into the bullpen. That's a huge hit. We tie up the ball game here. We're getting into the latter stages of this game. That's exactly what Memphis needed.
You kind of got the feeling that the Tigers were knocking on the door, waiting for that opportunity, and Mulholland made a mistake. Carter White fouls one at the plate, 0-1. Anybody's ball game here in the bottom of the 6th inning. Two pitchers that have both pitched well enough, maybe not their best outings of the season. This one shot into center field, and maybe a little bit of momentum now in the favor of the home team. Tigers are the 5 seed, but they are the home team in this contest, and they'll take that good fortune as the scoreboard now mirrors each other. Each team a run on 7 hits.
Carter White, cleanup man, sends this one into shallow center field. Still nobody out with a man on first. Brendan, USF had showed incredible poise throughout the year in one-run games. They were 10-3, but they've been equalized here.
This game having a little bit of a similar feel to the one USF played against Houston. Kane Barrow at the plate. He takes a strike on the outside corner. Barrow, a much better hitter than his 2 strikeout performance today would indicate. The Bulls maybe a little antsy over in that first base dugout. A rather rambunctious bunch in the third base side. Barrow takes ball 1. Flag waving just a little bit in the breeze out in right center for Barrow, who had a big homer in the 15th inning of a ball game that Memphis won earlier this year up at Connecticut. Downstairs, 2 balls and a strike, so he's got long ball power as well. You got a guy in the on-deck circle, Brandon Montgomery, who's not necessarily known for hitting homers, but he had a big one in a ball game against Cincinnati a couple of days ago. He said it right at the outset. It was almost perfectly timed. This is a tough part of the Tigers' order. You just can't make mistakes, and Mulholland, who's been pretty good today, maybe he's trending in the wrong direction where Dylan Toscano has gotten a little bit better as the day's gone on. Runners off, hit and run, and a foul ball.
Barrow, an all-conference selection on the second team, the senior for Memphis, and a correction, the pride of Paris, Tennessee, not Paris, Texas.
Oh, okay, Paris, Tennessee. But there is a Paris, Texas.
Been there.
Okay. I'll take your word for it. How will Mulholland respond here? Two pitch. Nope, time called.
Memphis had a pair of hits in the 4th inning. That was their only 2-hit inning so far against Mulholland. Now back-to-back here.
Inside, full count. Nobody out in the bottom of the 6th. Well, I mentioned that this game has a similar feel to the one against Houston. Remember, early in that game, you had the call. It was a low-scoring, low-offensive game.
No runs through 5 complete.
Yeah. Until all of a sudden, both teams were able to squeak across a couple runs, and then Houston really took the edge. Runner off on the payoff, and another foul ball.
That's twice they've sent White now on a couple of different counts. And that'll run it full.
So the Tigers trying to be aggressive here in the bottom of the 6th. think they smell blood. Elimination game here in the American Conference Tournament. Only a couple innings left in regulation for one of these two teams. The payoff. He's off again. This time a grounder to short. The only play to first base. Well, Barrow is retired, and the Tigers benefit by starting the runner.
Just as good as a sacrifice bunt. USF, after giving up the home run and the single, has put up an arm in the pin. It's the sophomore standout, Tommy Peterson.
And I'll tell you what, that's a really good piece of hitting by Kane Barrow. After striking out the last couple times up, Brandon Montgomery to the plate, and you get a look at his home run in that ball game against the Cincinnati Bearcats, just his third of the season, capped off a 5-run first inning. And towers a fly ball to the left here. Memphis scored 5 runs in the first 6 batters of the game. And the guy who gave up that home run for the Bearcats, senior Ryan Atkinson, was run from the ball game. That was, as a senior, it ended up being his last performance. We get time here as Billy Mole, the pitching coach, makes a mound visit to try to settle down his right-handed senior, Casey Mulholland. This Tigers club, a team that can play long ball, but not necessarily from top to bottom. You certainly expect the home runs from both Tucker and Darian Tubbs. You know Kane Barrow has that kind of pop. But maybe just a little concentration lost to Montgomery that last time, and he shows, hey, might be a freshman second baseman, but by this point in the season, I know it's sort of cliche, but when you've played this many games, you're not really a freshman anymore.
I was really impressed with Cincinnati's backbone, too. It's tough to give up 5 runs in the first, but to answer it, to bring it all the way back, 10 runs between 2 teams in the first inning, I don't know if I'd ever seen that.
I don't think so either. That was a long ball game. The first 2 innings of that game took exactly an hour. It was 6-5 going into the bottom of the second inning. That was a marathon game that the Tigers came out on top, and it put them in position to be here today. Montgomery, a runner at second, 1 out. Good stop from Levi Borders, and a good job by Carter White out at second base not to get a little too antsy. Brandon Montgomery 0 for 2 today. He's popped out to second and grounded out to shortstop. Holland negotiating with Levi Borders. They're on the same page. Just below the zone. Montgomery doesn't bite. 2-1. Now the sort of nostalgia around the ballpark right now with the energy and the feeling that something is hanging on every pitch. This is how it was all game yesterday between East Carolina and Tulane. Right from the get-go last night. Holland steps off the mound. That was such a fun ball game to watch. Temper started flaring with some late fireworks, both defensively and offensively. 3-1 the count. We're kind of using that game as sort of a barometer of what we hope the rest of this tournament might entail. We've had some great games here in Clearwater this week, and today's contest between USF and Memphis certainly has not been the exception. A 1-1 tie in the 6th.
Very close game. The only 1-run games we've had in this tournament so far both took place against Central Florida. 4-3 against East Carolina, 4-3 against Connecticut, and they both occurred at the expense of UCF. They had to leave this tournament, head back to Orlando feeling a little snake bit. 2 walk-off losses.
Yeah, those were tough ball games for a senior-heavy group that certainly underachieved this year in USF. Montgomery's 3-1 pitch on his way, and it's grounded left side. Oh boy, this is an interesting situation. Montgomery should probably run to second base. Got him in a rundown there at third, and Brandon will get into second base. Carter White looked up at the shortstop, and now they're going to run to third. Great base running. Montgomery's coming toward the plate. Here he comes. He's safe. 2-1 Tigers. Nothing freshman about the base running there. I don't know if I've ever seen a play like that, and Mark Kingston is pretty hot. He must have felt the time had been called.
Well, I can guarantee you Montgomery never called time. He was heads up the whole way. At this point right here, he thinks he can outrun Levi Borders, and does. The throw comes into Borders, but it's up the line, and he'll slide in for the go-ahead run.
Unbelievable turn of events. A ground ball to shortstop. And the Tigers' second baseman circles the bases while stopping along the way.
It was so deep into the hole it's short. After the play was over, I'm looking on the scoreboard to see if they gave him an infield single on that one.
Well, the reason why I started to kind of come away from the play, Carter White sort of hung himself out to dry. He wasn't going to draw a throw. He should have just continued on to third. Kyle Teef only decided to throw the ball to third base after White had stopped. So they get him out in the rundown, but Montgomery with brilliant base running. 2-1 Memphis. What a play. I imagine that's probably got to be a fielder's choice since they put him in the rundown. They haven't credited him a hit yet, but I suppose that could change.
That was most certainly the play of the tournament.
Unbelievable.
The go-ahead run comes in and scores on a ground ball to the shortstop.
Oh, man. I've never seen that before. Nate Rupiper takes down low, ball one. You never know what you're going to see at a ballpark. Hey, the Pittsburgh Pirates a couple of weeks ago turned a triple play that had never been turned before in the history of Major League Baseball. 4-5-4 triple play. Rupiper swings through it 1-1. Obviously, that might be a little bit extreme, but again, that's why baseball is such a great sport. Anything can happen. And especially in a game where emotions are this high and seasons and potential playoff opportunities at stake. Hard grounder to the shortstop. Well, he knocked it down, but kept it on the infield. And the first base coach, Lee Park, says, "Hey, Nate, we're going to keep you here on this ground ball to short." That is an infield hit. Good range by Teef going to his left to make that diving stop. Runner at first base with 2 outs. 2-1 Memphis in the 6th.
3 hits in the inning, 2 runs across, bottom of the frame.
Strike on the outside edge. Jake Little takes it 0-1. Sacrifice bunt and a walk for Jake Little today.
Well, I hope the conference can take that, clip it, and tweet it out, because that's something that you're rarely going to see in baseball.
0-2. I'm still having a hard time believing that just happened. I mean, that was absolutely unbelievable.
For the go-ahead run.
Amazing. A lot of ball game left. There's a ball in the dirt. 1-2 the count with 2 outs in the bottom of the 6th.
And I'll tell you what, I mean, there's 5 infielders for USF plus their pitcher that feel terrible about that play. And you got to come out here and shake that off immediately and pitch to Little at the plate and not let it bother you.
Just missed the low inside corner. 2 balls, 2 strikes.
And that's a tall order.
Yep. Sure is. Well, the good news for the Bulls, they've got the top of the order coming to the plate in the 7th. The problem is, if Dylan Toscano gets in trouble, Memphis has a lights-out bullpen. 2-2 is lifted into center field. Austin Luke zoning it up. He makes the inning-ending grab. Tucker Tubbs, a leadoff game-tying homer. And on one of the most bizarre plays you'll ever see, Brandon Montgomery, a grounder to short, circles the bases. And Memphis takes a 2-1 lead to the 7th. Buckle in. We got a good 3 innings coming your way next here on the American Digital Network.